Hello my lovelies, good to see you all. So what have I been up to this week? Started therapy, that was good. I've started a big painting. I've done a couple of abstract pieces. I have done just one of those small portraits. I'm starting to feel like a bit of a chore, and I sort of set out with this regimented thing that I was going to do X amount per week, and I sort of got into content creation mode rather than just art mode. And art mode is organic, what happens, let it flow. And that's where I sort of came to with that, was that I'm here to make art. And, I'm figuring out how to do this so that I can document it, so I can connect my art with people in the world, and so that I can connect with people in the world. But the art has to come first, and this has to come second. And by, working on a few bigger pieces, I sat down, did this one small abstract portrait, and I got very bored and I wasn't happy with it. And I was like, what are you doing? Sitting at a table, get up, move your body, express yourself. So that's where we're at. I'd like to talk about something. So I've always disliked drawing, and I say always. I never really did draw when I was younger because I just thought that I wasn't good at it. And unless I can do something and do it quite well, quite quickly, I just tell myself I don't like it. And I think a lot of people are the same in lots of different aspects of their life. But with drawing, I push myself to go along to life drawing, and everyone else in the class is really good at representing the subject that's up there and the poses and all the rest of it. And I just don't have the focus. Unless there's 15 things going on at once that I can, give my attention to all at once, to just focus on one thing and try and look for shapes and shadows and values, and oh God, that's like the most exhausting thing in the world. And because of that, I told myself I wasn't good at drawing, and therefore I told myself I didn't like drawing. And part of finding my voice has just been letting go of all of that and going, you don't actually have to achieve anything when you're drawing apart from moving the charcoal or whatever it happens to be around, and enjoying yourself. And it's got to come back to that mantra, unless you're enjoying yourself, you're doing it wrong. And that's kind of how it's got to be with art. And I've really lent into that. And the drawing that's come with it has been big fluid movements, and actually really sort of allowing the 15 thoughts to happen at once, and sort of dancing between them. So I'll be thinking about collarbone, and then I'll be thinking about a couch that I sat on last week, and then I'll be thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner, and then I'll be thinking about that couch again. I go, oh shit, I've got to come back to that couch. And then I'll be thinking about a breast, and then I'll be thinking about what the shoulder's doing, and how to foreshorten that arm. And instead of actually having to foreshorten an arm with value shapes and all these sorts of things, I'm just making a single gesture. And these lines are all connecting up. And at the end, I've got this crazy mess of lines on the page that makes perfect sense to me, because it's 15 things that have happened. And I look at it and I go, we're having chicken Kiev for dinner. And of course, that's what was happening with their arm. And that's been really exciting. And as with any idea, when you start to make sense of something, nothing really does make sense. But when you do start to, put your finger on something, I have really lent into that. And what I've been doing for drawing, and how I've fallen in love with drawing, is I've got an image timer. So 15 minutes, I have 15 images come up, and I just draw whatever catches my attention for 1 minute, and then it changes, and then I start to draw that on the same canvas or the same drawing or the same whatever it happens to be. And then by the time I'm on my third or fourth, I'm starting to see something. I'm starting to feel the composition. Something's starting to come out. And then I start to lean into that. And then what I'll start to do is start to find intersections between the different things that I've been drawing. And after the 15 minutes up, I seem to have something really cool that I really, really like on the page. And in the case of this one here, this is an aluminium panel that a friend gave to me. I haven't painted on aluminium panels before, but I am sold. So I'm going to get a bunch of these sheets and cut them up, which I'll put in, subsequent videos. But this drawing thing has just opened the world to me, and going, I am not an artist who can represent the world as it appears. I am an artist who can feel things and who can respond to them, and letting go of that need to represent, which kind of feels like, you have to prove yourself as an artist. Say, hey, this is what I want to do with my life. This is where my heart is. Therefore, look how good I can do these things. I think people that aren't artists see hyperrealism and go, oh, that's the standard. If you can get to there, that's a good artist. That's the measure. And I just had to let go of that. And by letting go of that, it's easier said than done. I've just really lent in, and I've just been coming up with this wackadoodle stuff. And it's been really good fun. This one behind me, this was really good fun. It's feeling very Picasso-esque And I'm using a very simple primary palette. I'm using a permanent rose, a cad yellow light, and a Prussian blue. I did all the cools first, which you'll see, and I brought the warms through afterwards. The problem was I was doing a lot of wet into wet, so I was losing the luster, I was losing the vibrancy out of the warmer colors because I didn't have white behind them. I had cooler colors behind them. Yeah, and therapy. So I have been wanting to go to therapy for a long time. I grew up with a mum who's manic depressive, and I'm incredibly grateful for that experience because I learned a lot about the human condition. I learned about intergenerational trauma. I learned how to be grateful for a lot of things that I think a lot of people aren't grateful for. I'm 36 years old and I've reached a point in my own life where I'm starting to get sad about a few things, and I want to talk about it and make sense of it so that hopefully my daughters don't have to be sad about the same things, Yeah, so it's cool. We're kind of living in a pretty cool time where therapy is just really quite normal, and we can put a circuit breaker in this intergenerational trauma that's gone on because people have just kept quiet for so long. Anyway, I don't know if I've got too much more to say. Week 3, I'm feeling really good about this whole thing. I feel like the ship is still in the harbour, but things are starting to click, things are starting to gel. Even this, sitting down and talking to a camera in my studio, is starting to feel more comfortable. Yeah, so it's cool. It's cool watching the journey within myself. To any of you that are out there, thank you so much for watching. I really, 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 really appreciate it. Yeah, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week.